It's Championship Day at Sachsenring. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. And after 16 races over 7 different venues, it all comes down to this. It's race 16, the final race of 2019. And in a little over half an hour, we will be crowning our new champion of the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, the 30th champion of this series, and it couldn't be any closer. At the moment, Julian Andlauer leads the points championship, but only by 15.5 points over his teammate Mikael Ammermuller. And it's fair to say that Mikael Ammermuller is on a bit of a roll at the moment. He won the race yesterday, and he starts on pole position for this race this afternoon. Julian Andlauer really needs to finish in front of Mikael Ammermuller if he can, but the bottom line is this. If Mikael Ammermuller wins this race, Julian Andlauer must finish in 3rd place or better. So despite my dodgy announcement of that, if Mikael Ammermuller wins this race, Julian Andlauer must finish in 3rd place or better. That's the points championship, very little in it, and it's all decided here in this race this afternoon. It's the final race of the series, and we are ready to go. The engines are running. Also to be decided is the amateur championship. Carlos Rivas leads Stefan Raykopf by just 6.5 points, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. But there's our grid, and on pole position it is Mikael Ammermuller with Larry Tenforder alongside, and Ammermuller's teammate and main rival in the championship is Julian Andlauer, and he starts P3 with Igor Veliko alongside. The revs rise, the cars start on their formation lap, and we are ready to go racing for one last time in the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. We are here at Sachsenring. It's good to have you with us. It's a 3.671 kilometre circuit with 14 turns. 4 of them are to the right and 10 of them to the left. But what is very unusual about this circuit is the cars are racing anti-clockwise. And it's something a little bit unusual compared to the other tracks in the series, and featuring some very fast corners and lots of undulation as well. Mikael Ammermuller on pole position, Larry Tenforder alongside. And then on row 2, it's Julian Andlauer with Igor Veliko for Overdrive Racing by Huber. Row 3 features David Kolkman and Jackson Evans, who's done brilliantly and clinched the rookie championship this year. And on row 4, Henrik Skoog and Dylan Pereira, also for Lechner Racing. Row 5, Tim Zimmerman and Jaap van Lagen. And the rest of the grid, you can see just scrolling through on your screen there. This formation lap, a key lap to get heat into the tyres and into the brakes. So the rookie championship has been decided. That's gone to Jackson Evans. The team championship has been decided. That's been an utter dominance by BWT Lechner Racing. And now it's just the 2 Drivers' Championships that are left. The main Drivers' Championship between Julian Andlauer and Mikael Ammermuller. And just to remind you, Andlauer leads 255.5 points, with Mikael Ammermuller in 2nd with 240. And the Amateur Championship with Carlos Rivas with 264 points and Stefan Raykopf 6.5 points behind. And Rivas starts 21st on the grid. That's on the 12th row and on the 10th row, and the 11th row, we'll get there in the end, and Stefan Raykopf starts 23rd. So Carlos Rivas already got the advantage, and he just needs to stay ahead of Stefan Raykopf, and he will be crowned the amateur champion. So 19 laps of this Sachsenring track coming up. The cars coming out of turn 14, one of the main overtaking opportunities. Lots of hills, ups and downs on this track. Main overtaking opportunities are into turn 1 and primarily turns 13 and 14 at the end of the lap. Not a lot of opportunities elsewhere, and we've seen a number of drivers in the gravel traps in several other series that have been racing throughout this weekend. The weather's looking good. It's sunny, it's dry, it's perfect conditions for the last race of the 2019 season. There you can see 20 degrees centigrade, 25 degrees is the track temperature. We're not expecting any rain. So this is it. this is where the season comes to a head. And very, very shortly, we will be crowning the 2019 Porsche Carrera Cup Germany champion, the 30th in this series. On board with Stefan Raikkoff, and the man in front of him in the green and black car is the man he needs to get past if he wants to win the amateur championship. So, second in the points championship is on the right-hand side of your screen. He's in pole position, pointing inward slightly, getting ready to head off Larry Tenforder, who starts alongside him. The all clear is given from the back of the grid, so now we're going to wait for those 6 red lights. The revs of the cars raise up to screaming pitch. The cars are off, we are running, and Larry Tenforder, very, very quick start, beats Mikael Ammermuller. Here comes Julian Andlauer, though, on the outside. Andlauer trying to get in front of his teammate. And Julian Andlauer, just see him on the outside, looking back from Larry Tenforder. Larry Tenforder leading the field into the first series of corners. And this is the view from Julian Andlauer, trying to work his way past his teammate, because he knows if he can get in front of him, then the championship is signed and sealed. So there's the number 2 car of Julian Andlauer. He drops back to P4. It's Larry Tenforder who leads from Mikael Ammermuller. Then we have Igor Veliko, who made a great start. And we are looking back at the number 37 car of Igor Veliko. So Larry Tenforder already opening up a bit of gap at the front, and Veliko putting pressure on Mikael Ammermuller. Tyre wear is definitely an issue here this afternoon, and so looking after the tyres early on is something that the drivers need to be thinking about as they head down the waterfall towards turn 11 and into turn 12. It's lap 1 of 19 laps, and lots to be decided here this afternoon. The championship is well and truly underway, and we will be crowning the new championship very shortly. There is Jaap van Lagen on the inside of Dylan Pereira as we come out of turn 14 and down the pit straight. Here we come, a big long stream of cars, and it's Larry Tenforder who completes the first lap as the leader. We can see a bit of dust in the background where somebody has run wide, and the other Lechner racing car of Jean-Baptiste Simonard in the background, just saw him making a move on the inside. And the rest of the cars come streaming through. So Larry Tenforder in the lead, Mikael Ammermuller in second, Igor Veliko in third, and Julian Andlauer in fourth. Jackson Evans once again showing his worth, our rookie champion for 2019 in P5, with David Coltman behind him. And as the cars settle down into some sort of order, we get a better picture of who is where, and no doubt about it, Larry Tenforder very keen to get back to his winning ways, as we see the Matthias Jesuit car just going off the track there slightly. Larry Tenforder, who won so many races at the beginning of this season, has had a really poor patch of luck, and looking to get back to his winning ways at the end of the season. Just seen a car duck into the inside of what looked like Carlos Rivas. But Carlos Rivas is in a different championship, and he is just worried about where Stefan Raikkoff is in comparison to him. And at the moment, Stefan Raikkoff is down in 23rd, and Carlos Rivas is up in 21st. So, having another look at the start, and we can see that Mikael Ammermuller comes across very defensively onto Larry Tenforder, almost allowing Julian Andlauer through, and then comes back across to try and block him. And Igor Veliko, seeing the opportunity, comes diving through on the inside as well. This is the view from Mikael Ammermuller. See him going sharp right across the track to try and block off Larry Tenforder, and in so doing, almost lets through his main championship rival, that being his teammate Julian Andlauer. So a bit of a sketchy start for Mikael Ammermuller, but he's gathered it up and he continues in P2. And you can see Igor Veliko there in the number 37 car. Carlos Rivas making a good start in the Black Falcon Team Texter car. And keeping Stefan Raikkoff behind. And Raikkoff started directly behind him on the grid. We can see one of the cars that locked up going into the first corner. And now looking back from Larry... That's not from Larry Tenforder's, that's looking back at... Yes, it is from Larry Tenforder's car, beg your pardon. And we can see what the view was like in his rearview mirror, and he just disappeared off into the distance, didn't he? Because at the moment he holds 4/10 over Mikael Ammermuller, but Ammermuller already coming back and looking to take the top step in this race. Plenty of battles further back. That's Lukas Oertl on the outside of Luca Rettenbacher, and also Gustav Malja there in that battle, and Jean-Baptiste Simonauer in the other Lechner Racing car also joining in with that little fight. So 4 laps done already, and we are looking for our 2019 champion. As things stand at the moment, if the race finishes as it is, according to my very dodgy calculations, Julien Andlauer would be crowned the champion. But you don't want to believe anything I say, because it's normally my maths is as dodgy as anything. So we'll wait for confirmation on the screen, and we'll let you know how that is. But Julien Andlauer in P4 and Mikael Ammermuller in P2. There you see him coming down the very steep waterfall straight, nicknamed the waterfall on account that it's a sheer drop. And that's Henrik Skoog looking to the outside of David Coltman. That is for P6 with Dylan Pereira, who's had a relatively quiet weekend by his standings, loitering down in P8. 3/10 is the lead that Larry Tenforder has now. So here he comes. This is Mikael Ammermuller looking to the inside. Larry Tenforder, he's a bit fed up with the fact that his absolute steamroller start to the year has just petered out, and he wants to get back to the top step of the podium. Mikael Ammermuller cannot afford to take too many risks. Julien Andlauer definitely can't afford to take any risks, because he's got it all to lose. And there's a car into the gravel trap, a couple of cars in fact. This is almost certainly going to bring out a safety car, because there was one car very definitely stranded there. That looks as though it's out of turn 1. It's Robert Wagner, who's had a fairly torrid year of it. And once again, he finds himself pointing in the wrong direction in the gravel trap. And we are almost certainly going to see a safety car. Here it comes. That's the safety car. And the safety car going to be required to get that car out of the gravel trap. So that gives everybody a chance to catch their breath. And Larry Tenforder will have the heat taken off just for the time being. But the safety car is deployed. And the Robert Wagner car will be very shortly removed and dragged back to the pit lane before we can go racing again. So we'll hopefully have a replay and see what happened there. So there's Julien Andlauer. Here we go. Oh, so it's... that's... is that Andlauer? Yes, it is. So Julien Andlauer went very wide, and that cost him a whole load of positions. In fact, he's dropped down to P9, and that is very significant indeed, because that takes him out of the points championship as the leader. So Julien Andlauer went wide out of the corner, got onto the gravel trap, and dropped a whole host of places. This is what caused the safety car into turn 1, and it looks like the 22 car just going straight on. And of course, that's Nicolas Skoll. And into the gravel trap, but you can see a big kind of pile of cars. Alex Arkin-Acker involved in that as well. And Robert Wagner just getting caught up in it. We're on board with Carlos Rivas. This will be a great view of it. And just looks like Nicolas Skoll just turns across, and so does Alan Arkin-Acker. And dragging the remnants of the car back. Very disconsolate indeed. I shouldn't laugh, but that is a great shot. And the 87 car of Richard Wagner, not Robert Wagner, that's a famous actor, and he's not racing today. Richard Wagner, his car being dragged off, and as you can see, right, okay, well, I told you my maths was dodgy. Julien Andlauer would still be champion as things stand at the moment if the race finished as it was. So, Andlauer, 2.5 points ahead of Ammermuller. Wow. So, 2.5 points. Ammermuller is in P2 and definitely looking stronger. And Andlauer is down in P9. So, it is very, very close. And if Ammermuller can get past Larry Tenforder, that would give him a 5-point boost, and that would take him to the top of the standings. So a big mistake there from Julian Andlauer is exactly what he didn't need at this point, and maybe just the pressure of leading this championship really starting to show. He's now got Jaap van Lagen in front of him and Tim Zimmerman directly behind. Here we go again, and we can just see him coming out of the corner, getting very wide. Did well to just keep hold of it, not spin off. I think that was out in turn 8. Yes, it was out in turn 8. See what it looked like on board, heading towards turn 9, and loses a whole handful of places. And did well not to spin, not to get bogged down in the gravel trap. But that's a scary moment for Julian Andlauer, and he saw his championship flashing before his eyes. That's what it's looked like looking across at him. And you can see him just getting crossed up there. There's Mikael Ammermuller riding on board with him. Safety car in is on this lap, so Ammermuller will be even more desperate to get past Larry Tenforder, because if he can do that, he will jump to the top of the point standings. With just 12 laps of this season remaining, Julian Andlauer is currently the leader of the points, but Mikael Ammermuller is closing in, and closing in quickly. So Julian Andlauer needs to not hang about getting past Jaap van Lagen. He's going to hope for a little bit of cooperation from the very popular Dutch driver that's in front of him. And then his teammate, Dylan Pereira, will be next on up the road. So, safety car is in. Larry Tenforder has made a good getaway, and Mikael Ammermuller not anticipated it as well as he might have done. There's a bit of a gap there. And Igor Veliko doing really well in P3, but coming under a lot of pressure from Jackson Evans, who ducks out to try and make his pass on the outside to Jackson Evans on the outside, Igor Veliko. But Mikael Ammermuller took a little peek on the inside of Larry Tenforder, as we see one car just getting a little bit sideways into the corner. Julian Andlauer is bogged down behind Jaap van Lagen after that mistake. And the new paint scheme for Jaap van Lagen for this race is very pretty, but Julian Andlauer doesn't want to be staring at it for very long. He wants to be past it and up behind Dylan Pereira. This is the battle for the lead. This is very tense indeed, because the championship really does depend on this. Mikael Ammermuller looking at the back of Larry Tenforder. These cars so evenly matched, you can't just dive bomb past. Very, very closely indeed. 30 identical Porsche 911s, and it's all about setup, driving skills, tyre pressures, tyre wear, and looking after the car as they come down the waterfall straight, very high speed into turn 11. You can see Henrik Skoo just looking to the outside of David Kolkman and then back to the inside again, and Dylan Pereira, he's there ready to pick up on any mistakes. Julian Andlauer looking to the outside of Jaap van Lagen. Jaap van Lagen goes to close him off, back onto the pit straight, and he's closed. Julian Andlauer very close to Jaap van Lagen, but a notoriously difficult driver to overtake, as Jaap van Lagen doesn't give up places easily. Julian Andlauer cuts to the inside, then back to the outside. Needs to be careful not to make any mistakes. Jaap van Lagen locks up going into turn 1, and Julian Andlauer, surely he can take the place away here, but no. Jaap van Lagen doing very well to come back in towards the Castrol turn of turn 4, and Julian Andlauer still behind Jaap van Lagen. We got this, it says on the rear view on the rear mirror, rear wing, and he really has got this position tied up, hasn't he? So looking on board again from Julian Andlauer, we can see him, and a little bit of contact there, a bit of a thud on the Jaap van Lagen car, and very, very desperate to get past, because his championship rival is a long way up the road, and if Mikael Ammermuller gets past Larry Tenforder, then it's going to be all change in the points championship. So here comes Julian Andlauer again, pressuring Jaap van Lagen. He needs him to make another mistake, and he needs to be able to get past him, and he needs to do it quickly, because there is a big gap opening up to Dylan Pereira, who's quite a long way up the road. So very tense indeed. You can see that Jaap van Lagen doesn't quite have the pace of Dylan Pereira, who's in front, and has dropped back quite a long way. Jaap van Lagen is showing as about 2 seconds behind Dylan Pereira. Julian Andlauer looking again to the inside. He really is regretting that mistake he made earlier on, because this is costing him dearly as the leaders start to pull away. This is the fight of the race, and through into the Castrol Omega turn again, and Julian Andlauer pressuring Jaap van Lagen for all he's worth, desperate to get away past. But of course he's got Tim Zimmerman just behind, and any mistakes and Tim Zimmerman's going to be through. This is very, very tight as the point championship goes. Just 9 laps left of this 2019 season, and still we don't know who is going to be the champion. Here come the rest of the cars. Great racing from the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. Heinrich Skug through on Dylan Pereira. And that's Dylan Pereira challenging Heinrich Skug, in fact. So Dylan Pereira looking to the inside of Heinrich Skug, but difficult to overtake. There's Skug, and there's the number 3 car of Pereira. So Pereira looks to the inside of Heinrich Skug. They race up towards turn 13. Through on the inside, and Dylan Pereira is through. So that's another place for Dylan Pereira. Heinrich Skug just coming back at him now as they head down the pit straight side by side into turn 1. Great driving from Heinrich Skug, having a good year in the Porsche Carrera Cup on the outside into turn 1. But Dylan Pereira has that racing line, and he can just close it off as he goes wide into turn 2 and shuts the door on Heinrich Skug. And a bit of contact there between Matthias Jeserik, and we can see our prediction. So 2.5 points in it still, and a replay of Julian Andlauer once again getting into the back of the Jaap van Lagen car. Really couldn't be any closer, and needs to be very, very careful, because the stewards have not been famous for being lenient here at Sachsenring, or indeed at any other point during the season. And any contact with Jaap van Lagen could easily see him pick up a penalty, and a penalty at this stage would absolutely destroy his championship hopes. So Jaap van Lagen still holding on, and at the front is Larry ten Voorde looking to return to winning ways. He's got a good lead over Mikael Ammermuller, and Larry ten Voorde, who hasn't won since the Red Bull Ring back in June, having won 4 of the first 5 races, has now had a very, very long spell by his standards without a victory. And he is looking to get to the top step of the podium as we see Tim Zimmerman and Tony Wolff fighting for position behind. That's for P11, and Tim Zimmerman drops back. Tony Wolff takes that place from him, and Tony Wolff is the new driver to be challenging the back of Julian Andlauer. Andlauer getting increasingly frustrated by Jaap van Lagen. Needs to keep a control of it, because he doesn't want to be making any stupid mistakes at this point, and either ending up with damage in the gravel trap or attracting the attention of the stewards. So that's Jaap van Lagen in the very distinctive purple and red car. The paint scheme for this weekend especially, and you can see on your timing screens that Julian Andlauer has been quicker on 2 of the last 3 laps, but catching up with him is one thing, getting past is a whole different ball game as they come up the crest of the hill, which is blind, and down towards turn 11. A very, very fast piece of track that. Under braking into the corner, a spot where we see a lot of drivers making mistakes, now into the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit. And that's the 67 car of Lauren Henrik, who's making an guest appearance here. And 92 of Luca Rettenbacher. The 2 of them fighting side by side. 67 cars had a couple of other drivers during this year, but it's Lauren Henrik who is driving it for Sachsenring this weekend, and making a very good showing indeed. But Luca Rettenbacher on the outside, and very, very tight through there. The 92 car squeezes through, and Heinrich has to settle for P14 as Rettenbacher makes it past. So there's your leader, Larry ten Voorde, under increasing pressure from Mikael Ammermuller. If Ammermuller can get past Larry ten Voorde, he will be the new points leader. So this is critical for Mikael Ammermuller. He can see the back of the Larry ten Voorde car, and he's been closing in lap on lap, and you can see that on your timing screens. But there are only 3 laps left after this in which to get past. Julian Andlauer still bogged down in P9 behind Jaap van Lagen. It's amazing that after 15 races, almost 16 races, and with just 3 laps to go after this, 6 laps to go after this, pardon my dodgy maths, we still don't know who the champion is going to be. It really, really is very, very tight. And we can see from Mikael Ammermüller's car, Larry ten Voorde just holding on to the racing line. And the Sachsenring not presenting lots of opportunities for overtaking. And through this windy section, it's quite narrow, lots of hills, very, very little of this circuit is flat. A lot of it is downhill or uphill. And Jaap van Lagen has the racing line, and Julian Andlauer cannot get past. So we continue, coming up to complete 14 laps. Larry ten Voorde still our leader. That man, Julian Andlauer, after a mistake early on, coming out of turn 8, went through the gravel trap and has dropped himself back and given himself an almighty headache. And he's got 5 laps in which to do something about it, because Mikael Ammermüller is getting closer and closer to Larry ten Voorde and looking ever more eager. Larry ten Voorde just holding on to that lead position. He has won so much this year, then has been through such a lean spell. He really wants that top step. He doesn't care about the championship. He's out of it now. So he'll be doing everything he can to hold off Mikael Ammermüller. Ammermüller looking again to the inside. He sees a gap. Ten Voorde just shuts the door. Ammermüller really favouring that inside line, getting a slipstream down the pit straight and then cutting to the inside. But ten Voorde saw him coming, shut the door. Ammermüller now looking to the outside, looking a little bit more desperate. Time is running out for Mikael Ammermüller if he wants to wrestle this championship away from his teammate, Julian Andlauer. We see the view back from Larry ten Voorde. And all along, Igor Veliko keeping a watch in P3, with Jackson Evans once again impressing in P4. And there, Jaap van Lagen down in 8th place, still holding off Julian Andlauer. As far as our amateur championship goes, Carlos Rivas is in 22nd, and Stefan Raykop is in 25th. So if things finish as they are now, Carlos Rivas will be the amateur champion. But our focus is very much at the front here, as we see Dylan Pereira and David Coltman, and they are scrapping over P5. So Pereira looking to work his way back after what has been a fairly quiet weekend by his standards. Now coming back through the field, and Coltman in P5. Pereira in P6 very shortly, looking to change that P6 into a P5 himself. We saw a car in front just locking up. I think that was Jackson Evans just giving out a little puff of smoke. We're coming up to complete lap 15, and after this there will only be 3 more laps, and then the championship will be decided. As things stand at the moment, Julian Andlauer is the 2019 champion, but that could all change. Mikael Ammermüller only needs to get past Larry ten Voorde, and that would change things around significantly. So there's Jaap van Lagen, and there's Julian Andlauer just going under the bridge towards turn 9 and into the section of the track where overtaking is the easiest. It's still not easy around here, but Julian Andlauer doesn't look as though he's got anything that he can throw at Jaap van Lagen to get past. And he really does need that cushion, because 2.5 points is not a lot. And if his teammate Mikael Ammermüller does get past Larry ten Voorde, that will be it. So Ammermüller, just a couple of laps left remaining, and Mikael Ammermüller is launching yet another attack on Larry ten Voorde. Never before has Julian Andlauer wanted Larry Tenforder to win a race. He wants the Huber Racing Overdrive car to be as wide as possible because Mikael Ammermuller is trying to come through. Larry Tenforder holding on to that racing line. This windy section of the track doesn't present lots of opportunities for overtaking, but very, very shortly we're coming into the third section of the track, and that does present opportunities. And once again, Mikael Ammermuller lining up Larry Tenforder. And as they come out onto turn 11, down the waterfall, and Ammermuller will be looking to get the slipstream out of turn 14 and down the pit straight, and will be looking to make one of his now increasingly famous moves to the inside of Larry Tenforder. Is he close enough? We look now, coming up out of turn 14 very, very shortly. We're just climbing up to it here. Larry Tenforder brakes, moves to the inside. Right, this is Mikael Ammermuller's next big chance. Slipstreaming down the pit straight. In front of him, Larry Tenforder. That's all that stands between him and a championship win. Nothing here this time, although he looks to the inside. Larry Tenforder once again moving across. Is he going to try anything desperate in these closing stages of this race? Because as things stand at the moment, Julian Andlauer will be the champion. Look, he's almost pushing the Larry Tenforder car round the corner. Mikael Ammermuller closer than ever before, and he's ready for a challenge. With just a couple of laps left, he's ready to challenge Larry Tenforder for that win, and if he does, he could be at the top of the points championship. This is incredibly close. Julian Andlauer still bogged down in P9 behind Jaap van Lagen. So the championship decider is taking place here, and Larry Tenforder is not even in it. Larry Tenforder is in P3 in the championship, but desperately wants to get back to winning ways after what has been a pretty poor second half of the season by his standards. Looking back, and we're down into turn 11 again, completing the 17th lap, the 18th lap coming up, and very, very shortly this race is going to be over. So Mikael Ammermuller lining up Larry Tenforder now. He really is close. He comes out of turn 14 down the pit straight. Larry Tenforder is ready for him. There's only 2/10 on the clock. They're into the final lap. So Mikael Ammermuller has one lap in which to win this championship. He looks to the outside. Larry Tenforder shuts the door, holding on to the racing line. Mikael Ammermuller goes wide. So Larry Tenforder just holding on to it. He is a wise old dog, is Larry Tenforder. This is the championship decider. We're on the final lap. Mikael Ammermuller closer than ever before, getting desperate. He can see the 2019 championship slipping away from him. Julian Andlauer still back down behind Jaap van Lagen. Here comes Larry Tenforder, just holding on to the racing line. Into turn 8 they come, just down towards the bridge. It's Larry Tenforder who leads this race from Mikael Ammermuller. Mikael Ammermuller has one more chance to get past Larry Tenforder, up over the brow of the hill, down in towards turn 11. It's Larry Tenforder who holds the lead by just the smallest of margins. Mikael Ammermuller giving it everything he's got in towards turns 13 and 14. And very, very shortly, this race is going to be over. Larry Tenforder in the closing stages, still in the lead. Mikael Ammermuller looks to the inside, can't find a way through. Surely Larry Tenforder can keep a hold of it now. In towards the checkered flag, and it's Larry Tenforder who wins the race. But it's Julian Andlauer who wins the championship. Larry Tenforder first across the line, Mikael Ammermuller second, Igor Veliko third, Jackson Evans in P4, and Carlos Rivas finishing 22nd with Andras Szczepanski in 25th. And Szczepanski doesn't manage to take the championship away from Carlos Rivas, so amateur champion Carlos Rivas. Now Julian Andlauer clutching his head in disbelief, and I'm hoping that my maths hasn't been dodgy, because I'm fairly sure that Julian Andlauer's P9, which will have got him 7 points, will have got him the championship. Mikael Ammermüller's second place will have given him 20 points, so that gives him 260. And Julian Andlauer, 262.5 by my reckoning. So there's your race winner, Larry Tenforder. And I had to take me shoes and socks off to count that lot up. So Larry Tenforder wins, but by my reckoning, Julian Andlauer, by the slimmest of margins, has won the championship. And Mikael Ammermüller, you can see there, just shaking his head. And there's Walter Lechner. It was a win-win situation for him because it was going to be one of his drivers that won the championship, whatever. That was very, very close indeed. So as the dust settles, is Larry Tenforder who wins from Mikael Ammermüller and Igor Veliko. Jackson Evans doing really well for P4 from David Coltman and Dylan Pereira, Henrik Skoog and Jaap van Lagen. That's the remainder of the places. You can see Julian Andlauer there in P9 and Carlos Rivas P22, that gives him the amateur championship title ahead of Andres Szczepanski, who finished in 26th place. So there's your P3, Igor Veliko in the number 37 car, the Overdrive Racing by Huber Porsche 911. And Igor Veliko scoring his best result by far in the Porsche Carrera Cup. There's second place, Mikael Ammermüller for PWT Lechner Racing. And there's your winner. It's a 1-3 for Overdrive Racing by Huber. And it's Larry Tenforder who wins the race. So Henrik Skoog, just a shout to him really. First podium of the year. He's had a couple of P4s, but hasn't finished any higher than that. And so definite credit to him for getting it home and putting it on the podium. Mikael Ammermüller didn't quite do enough to secure the championship. And Julian Andlauer did. Larry Tenforder finally back on the top step of the podium after what must feel like an eternity away from it. And Julian Andlauer, apologies for any bad language there. Julian Andlauer, you cannot make it easier. There you go, there's confirmation. Wow, my maths was actually right. That doesn't happen very often. Julian Andlauer is the champion. 2.5 points over Mikael Ammermüller. How close is that? And you can see from Julian Andlauer, I think he thought he'd thrown it away, to be quite honest, and he's in utter disbelief. Mikael Ammermüller has really won the second half of the season, but Julian Andlauer has just been consistent as he... They didn't take long making that sign up, did they? Just listening in to what the drivers say and hoping they don't swear. PWT Lechner Racing, utterly dominant once again in the Porsche Carrera Cup. The 30th champion of Porsche Carrera Cup Germany is that man there. It's Julian Andlauer. So we await the podium ceremony. Great racing and tense to the very last moment. We didn't know who was going to win the championship until the end. And Mikael Ammermüller congratulating his teammate. Great sportsmanship there, because he must be feeling fairly grumpy about that. He has got more wins. He has 6 wins to Julian's 5. And he just misses out on the championship. So fairly philosophical, Mikael Ammermüller, and he must be thinking, one more race, I could have done this. He was closing in and has been closing in on Julian Andlauer for so long. but too little too late, and it's Julian Andlauer who takes the title. So we just wait for the drivers to make their way up onto the podium. And then we can have presentation ceremonies. Lots of people wanting to do interviews and get a word with our champion and our race winner. And Larry Tenforder makes that 5 wins in the season. So we've only had 3 winners this year in the Porsche Carrera Cup. 5 wins to Larry Tenforder, 5 wins to Julian Andlauer, and 6 wins to Mikael Ammermuller. And Larry Tenforder being the only driver to spoil the party that BWT Lechner Racing has enjoyed. And the season started with Larry Tenforder on such a roll. He won 4 of the first 5 races and finished 2nd in the other one. Then a P4 at the Red Bull Ring, felt like a glitch, but then went through a whole series of poor results. Picked up a P2 yesterday, but my which time well out of the championship hunt. And the win today will be consolation, but I dare say he would rather have been fighting for the championship with Mikael Ammermuller rather than deciding who should win it between Ammermuller and Andlauer. Just listening to the interview. So you just hear there from, I don't know if you heard that or not from the stadium interviews, but just talking to Julian Andlauer, and he was just saying that he was aware that Mikael Ammermuller was in P2 and that he was just about in the right place. Must have been very tense for him because on several occasions it really did look like Ammermuller was going to get past Larry Tenforder, and that was completely out of Julian Andlauer's hands. And if that had happened, it would have been a very different story. So interesting to hear his perspective. He was just sitting tight, sitting nervously. And an uncharacteristic mistake from Julian Andlauer early on has put him into that position. And maybe the pressure of the occasion really just starting to show on championship day. Good to see Larry Tenforder congratulating Julian Andlauer on his championship win. And Igor Veliko, let's spare a thought for him, who drove a good, solid, consistent race. And there's Andrzej Szczepanski and Carlos Rivas together. And Rivas winning the amateur. I'm sorry, there's Carlos Rivas there. Just rebranding him. And Carlos Rivas will be delighted to have sealed the amateur trophy. Stefan Raykopf was the other driver, of course, with the sunglasses on. So I think we're getting ready for the podium ceremony, and we should very shortly see our race winner and also our 2019 champion. It winds up what has been a great year for the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, the 30th staging of the championship. We've had 8 rounds on 7 circuits with 16 races, and it has been entertainment all the way. Controversy along the way, and lots of applause. There's Carlos Rivas. Pointing to the Black Falcon team hat. Sorry, mate, you need to wear a blue one. Congratulations from Christoph Huber. And Larry Tenforder, he looks delighted to have finally broken that run of poor form and got it back on the top step of the podium. And it's hard to believe that his last win was back at the beginning of June at the Red Bull Ring, isn't it? And it's hard to believe when you look at his form at the start of the year that he wasn't in the championship hunt at the end. But he's done it today. Larry Tenforder takes the win. The final win of 2019 goes to Larry Tenforder. He finishes the season exactly as he started it, with top step at the podium. Mikael Ammermuller comes second. And now national anthem. The Larry Tenforder fan club, which gets louder and larger every race, will be delighted with that win this afternoon on this lovely autumnal Sunday afternoon in Germany. Ruben Zartner presenting the winner's trophy. Peter Weidinger will be presenting P2. Here he comes. To Mikael Ammermuller and Huri Isaac, our familiar face from Porsche, presenting P3 to Igor Veliko. His first podium just in the nick of time as the season is closing. To Christoph Huber for the team, Overdrive Racing by Huber. He picks up a trophy. And there on the left-hand side of your screen, the new champion, Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. Can you believe it? Julian Andlauer has done it. So, pick up the bottles. No, pick up the trophies. Quick pose for the cameras. And then the celebrations will start. He came into the weekend a long way behind him, Mikael Ammermuller. He almost did it as Christoph Huber gets a proper soaking from his two drivers. And now about to execute revenge. But Mikael Andlauer came into this weekend the outside chance of winning the championship. Came so close. But Julian Andlauer just snatched it back. I kept hold of it, winning by 2.5 points. Julian Andlauer is the 2019 Porsche Carrera Cup Germany champion. And it brings to the end a season that started in Hockenheim back in May. Travelled to Moss, to Red Bull Ring, Norris Ring, Zandvoort, Nürburgring, back to Hockenheim, and then finished off here at Sachsenring. And what a year it's been. We've absolutely loved it. And now our eyes turn to 2020. Who will be the 31st champion? Can Julian Andlauer successfully defend the title? Will Mikael Ammermuller come through and make up for it? Or will Larry Tenforder re-find his form? We're going to be back in 2020. I do hope you're going to join us then. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a privilege. We'll see you next year. Bye-bye.